It's time for another off the cuff and other stuff episode of Akram's Ideas. Hello and welcome. I'm Akram Burris, and you're watching Akram's Ideas, bringing creative and crazy ideas to life. It's time for another off-the-cuff and other stuff episode of Akram's Ideas. So this is one of those episodes where I share with you a little bit of what I've been up to, what's been going on, what I've been sewing, ideas, plans, a whole bunch of stuff wrapped up in one kind of chatty video. So without further ado, let's dive into it. First off, I want to give a big shout out to my new subscribers as well as my longtime subscribers as well. We've been steadily growing here on Akram's Ideas, and I wanted to give a big thanks to all of you for following me on this creative journey. So with that said, if you're new to the channel, obviously I am Akram, and I share my creative and crazy ideas, mostly sewing related. However, I will say in the past few weeks there has been very little sewing going on, and so that leads us into this off the cuff and other stuff episode where I'm going to share what's been going on. So originally my goal for the summer was to try to have 2 videos a week out, and I did that for like 2 weeks. I haven't had a chance really to record until just now. Last week I didn't even have a video out, and that's because life happens. So the first big life event that happened was my refrigerator died. This was something completely unexpected. So we've only had the refrigerator about 4 years, so we got it when we got this house, and it just gave up the ghost. It was an LG side by side with one of the extra large versions, and it was very frustrating to say the least that when it passed on, because getting a new refrigerator was not on my plans for 2020. But of course 2020 has given everybody's plans sort of a run for their money this year, because all plans have changed, right? I did have sort of this anxiety, like, what am I going to do now, especially since, given our current circumstances around the world, getting a new fridge that wasn't one that was in stock meant you would have to wait until October. So I went to several places, looked around several different locations until I settled on the one that I chose. It is one of those French door styles where it's got the 2 drawers on top for the fridge and then a pull-out drawer for the freezer. It's a new style that I've ever had, so I'm hoping that I like it. So that was an ordeal in itself that took up a couple of weeks of trying to figure out what we were going to do there. So that's some random life things that have been going on. Some other updates. So back earlier in June was the Sewing Weekender. So the Sewing Weekender is a 2-day sewing event hosted by the lovely folks at the Fold Line. If you're in the sewing community, you've probably heard of the Fold Line. They're an online sewing community. They have a YouTube channel, and they host a shop that you can purchase PDF patterns and all sorts of other things. But they host the Sewing Weekender, which, like I said, is a 2-day weekend where it's kind of like a sewing conference. There's speakers and presenters and workshops, and then you come with your sewing and you sew. And this year they decided to make it virtual, which was amazing because us in the US, we're never really able to go to the Sewing Weekender because it is hosted in the UK. And I jumped at the chance to attend the virtual Sewing Weekender. It came to about roughly $14 for registration. All of the proceeds went to a variety of different charities, which was great. And the whole thing was really, really fun. There was basically, because it was international, they had to work within the time zones. So a lot of the presentations and talks were all pre-recorded. So you got like a YouTube link, but there were some live events that they kind of broke out at different times so that people from different locations could participate in, and those were done using Zoom, and those were more or less kind of like a group chat where people got on there and kind of shared what they were sewing for the weekend. And if you caught that, I was on the Saturday. I got to be on the Zoom chat where I shared what I was working on for the Sewing Weekender, which is this coat here. And as you can see, this coat is still not done, but I'll tell you more about the coat here in a little bit. But overall thoughts on the Sewing Weekender, I think it was a great event. I would have liked to have more small group breakout sessions, but I think for the amount of time that they had to switch to the online platform, figure out everything, and the overwhelming response, I don't think they really foresaw how many people. I think they had close to 2,000 attendees worldwide to participate in the Sewing Weekender. So I think if they do it again, I would encourage everyone to participate. I think it was a great event, but I'd like to see a little bit more interaction within the participants. But again, I think that just takes a little bit more planning. Overall, though, I was thoroughly impressed with how it was set up, and the talks were really, really good. I especially liked the one from Alice & Co. Patterns. They had a really interesting sort of fashion history talk, and they even did sort of a DIY, was it like, what kind, it was like pants, but it was kind of like balloon pants or something like that. And then there were other DIY things as well. The Stitch Sisters did draft your own dungarees, and there was a whole lot of different talks that they were just really, really cool and really interesting. And then there was these whole community talks where it was like introducing you to new sewing vloggers and stuff like that. Like I said, I really enjoyed the Sewing Weekender. I'd love to know in the comments below if you participated in the Sewing Weekender and what your thoughts were on it. We also, as part of the Sewing Weekender, got a virtual goodie bag, which was full of discounts to a variety of fabric shops and pattern shops and accessories. So as you can see, and this is only one corner of the fabric, by the way, I don't need any more fabric, and I certainly really don't need any more patterns. So I really didn't take advantage of any of that, but there were two discounts that I did take advantage of. So one was for the Crafty Pinup shop, which Abby from the Crafty Pinup has been selling these beautiful enamel pins for quite a while, and I have just been kind of oogling them on Instagram, and since I had the discount, I went ahead and got the 3-pack. So they haven't come in yet, but I'm super excited, and I will be sharing with you when those come in. Along the same lines of jewelries and accessories, so Dainty also had a discount code in the virtual goodie bag, and they make those acrylic, you probably see them on a lot of people, where it's the scissors necklaces, and so I got one of those as well. I thought I'd interject here real quickly because, as it turns out, right after filming my video, I got my Crafty Pinup and So Dainty packages in the mail. So open these up. So let's see. And And I got a little card that says, "Thank you for your order, Kathy." And a little bit about caring for your acrylic jewelry. Then this is the packaging here. I'm super, oh my gosh, it's so cute! Oh, look at that. That is adorable. I love it. I love it so much. I can't wait to wear it. Oh, that's so pretty. It is so pretty. Oh, that one's really pretty. Okay, so now the Crafty Pinup package. So here is the packaging for the Crafty Pinup. Oh, and it's got little like giant confetti. I'd rather be sewing, which is a little card here. I think I'll hang that up, which it also has a little coupon code. And then this is the packaging, and I got the 3-pack of enamel buttons, and you get to choose which buttons you wanted. Oh my gosh, they're cuter than I thought. Okay, so this one is the sewing machine with the little red flower, and I got the black sewing machine. Oh, isn't that so classic? I love it. And then this one is too much talk and not enough fabric. I love that. And then this is a spool of thread with a needle and a little pink flower. Oh, these are fabulous. They look such nice quality and high end and so pretty. Oh gosh, I am almost afraid to wear them on anything. But I love them. I love them so much. So that was my Crafty Pinup and my So Dainty purchases that I got with the coupon codes from the Sewing Weekender. And I am really happy with those items. So that kind of is the Sewing Weekender that was back on June 13th and 14th. And like I said, the idea behind it is that you do a sewing project for the weekend. And this was my official Sewing Weekender project, which was Vogue 1083, which is right here. Now, this is a pattern that I cut out way back in like 2015. It was a project that I was working on when we were moving from Kansas back to Oklahoma, and I was not in the right space. I wanted to sew something. It was getting fall time, and I just like, you know what? I'm going to sew this. And yeah, I got most of it, the outer part of the coat put together during the Sewing Weekender. It had already all been cut out. I think, yeah, all of it had been cut out. It just needed to be put together. And I got the outer part put together, and I just decided I hate it. It doesn't fit right. You know, I cut this out like 5 years ago, so the fit is off. The weight of the coat itself. Now, I am making this in a fleece with a inner lining of fleece. And the coat was meant for something, I think, more substantial. It was meant for like a wool or something that could hold its own weight. And this fleece, well, it's pretty and soft. I don't know, it just droops. And the size of everything, like it's gonna need huge shoulder pads, and I was not happy with it. And I think more than not happy with the fit is that I knew that if I continued on the path to making this, I would never wear it. And I didn't want to spend all that time making something that I knew I would never wear. So I'm like, how can I salvage this? Because, you know, having sort of a camel colored coat with the leopard lining that I have planned out for it would be beautiful, right? So I went through my stash, and oddly enough, so like I said, the original thought was to make this Vogue 1083, which is a reproduction of a 1953 swing coat. Well,
To see more episodes like this, be sure to click the like button, subscribe to Akram's Ideas, and hit the bell icon to get notified of new episodes.
Well, I went through my stash and I found Buttrick 4928, which is another swing coat from 1952. However, there was one key deciding feature for this particular pattern. And the very first thing is it says for fabric options, fleece. So I knew right away that fleece would be a perfect option for this coat. The coat is shorter. The coat has grown-on sleeves. So, I mean, and it's got these huge pockets. It's just something that I think would be much more wearable than this gigantic, huge... I mean, I put this on and I looked like a Jedi walking around in their robes, kind of hidden from the Empire, you know? I mean, that's what it looked like. It just was big and bulky. And I think this pattern is going to be much better. The other upside to that is that this pattern also says it's very easy. Because of the grown-on sleeves, the pattern itself has like 5 pattern pieces. Versus this Vogue one that had shoulder yokes and everything. I mean, granted, I put most of it together. But because the whole thing is huge, I think that I can dismantle it and use the pieces to make this coat so much easier. And I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I can whip this up in a weekend and it'll be so much more wearable than the Vogue one. Granted, I mean, I like the style of it, but I don't think it's going to suit me. Unless I'm wearing a big 50s dress, I don't need that much volume in a coat. And I think the shorter length will also be more suited for if I'm wearing jeans or needing something to run around in. So that is why this coat has not been completed. Moving on, if you have been following Akram's Ideas, you probably saw in my last video was my June plans, which kind of came out in the late June, but I'd already kind of started them. And it's still June while I'm recording this, so I may actually complete some more of those plans before the end of the month. I'm not sure when this particular video will go up, but I'll give you a sneak peek of what I have been sewing. I said that I wanted to make some bowl cozies out of Coca-Cola fabric that I had in my stash forever, and I did. Da, da, da. So this is one of a set of 4 that I made, and I just used that sort of picnic tablecloth fabric for the inside, and the back side here is Coca-Cola. Of course, the whole thing can be reversed if you want to do that. I prefer the Coca-Cola on the outside. Now, this tutorial for how to make these bowl cozies, I use the Crafty Gemini tutorial, and I'll put the link in the description below to her tutorial. The only thing that I didn't do is I didn't curve the points of the bowl cozy. I left them pointed. I like that look a little bit better. The next thing that I wanted to do was to make corresponding pot holders, which I did. And I've even got the little tab here for the pot holder, and on the back side the picnic fabric. I really like these. The downside is that these took up way longer than I thought. I thought, oh, a few hours, you know, maybe an hour or 2, I'll get these done. These took a whole day. And mainly because of the quilting lines. I had to mark them, and then I had to sew them, and then I had to reverse it and sew them the other way. And there was 4 of them. It just took quite longer than I anticipated to make these. And I'm a slow sewer. I'm not sure why. I just am not very fast at sewing. But I did manage to whip those up, so I'm very happy with those. A couple of other things that I have been sewing. So first off, I had to do some mending, which I was very upset that I had to do, because you may recall that, is it 8342, I believe? If not, I'll put the pattern number up. But the Simplicity pattern, it's like a reproduction of 1940s sort of blouse and pant set. And I made the pants back in March, I want to say. And I love these pants. I wear them all the time. I pulled them out to wear a few weeks ago and discovered that the zipper had broke. Now, it was really weird too, because the zipper, I hardly ever even opened the zipper, because I made this kind of like out of a ponte that has a little bit of stretch. So I didn't really even need to use the zipper, but the zipper had broke out of it. It had just basically split. So I had to replace the zipper. And so it's been on my mending table. And so finally I was like, you know what? I'm just going to replace the zipper. It is not the prettiest invisible zipper. Let's just say that. But it's in, and I can wear them again. And I really do like those, and I need to make more of them. Ironically, after I fixed the zipper, it's been just way too hot to wear those pants because they are sort of a polyester ponte. It's just, I would just be roasting in such pants. So I haven't really got to wear them since I fixed them, but I did get them off my mending table. Going back to my June plans, I said I was going to make some shorts for my husband. And if you recall, I said that I made shorts for him last year, this is one of the pairs that I made him last year. And then I also made him this lovely little colorful pair as well. And I made 2 more pairs for him. So one of the fabrics that I show in my June plans video, I didn't have enough of. So I had to go through my stash and see what else I had. And I had these. This is really lovely. It's a nice soft cotton that has sort of palms on it. And again, just a really nice elasticated pair of shorts. And then the other one that I knew he was going to absolutely love were these fish shorts. They are just so cute. I love it. And this pretty much took up all the fish fabric. And I knew that they would be perfect for him. So I got the shorts done. I'm still working on some of the other projects. One of the other projects that I have been working on, if you are wondering what I'm wearing here, this is McCall's 8067, which is the blouse pattern I had a whole review on about all my fitting issues, and this is one of the ones that I made. And I am actually working on getting the fit right for this. So one of my resources that I have for trying to figure this out is this book here. This is Nancy Ziemann's Fitting with Confidence book. Now, technically speaking, the copy that I have, which was if you want these books, is a much better way to go. So there are actually 3 books. There's Sewing with Confidence, Serging with Confidence, and Pattern Fitting with Confidence. And you can get them separately, or you could get them as a single collection, which is the book that I have here, and I just got this on Amazon. So, I'm using the Fitting with Confidence to try to use this to come up with some solutions for my fitting issues. Now, there is a sort of, in the sewing community, I've heard good things, bad things about Nancy Ziemann's methods for altering patterns. She doesn't do the slash and spread method, so she doesn't really cut up your patterns. Instead, she does something called a pivot and slide, where you sort of rotate the pattern out, slide it to create new lines, and then slide it back into place, and things like that. People say they like it, some people say they don't, they say mixed results. One of the things that I know I'm going to have to do for me is a high rounded back adjustment. And if you do the slash and spread method, you have to add a back seam to your bodice by doing that. And I really prefer not to add a back seam for that. Now there are ways to get rid of that back seam and then add the fullness back into the shoulder and add a neck dart. There's a lot of different little techniques. So in Nancy Demon's method, you don't have to do any of that. You just sort of slide the pattern around, and it does increase the shoulder a little bit. She indicates that you can ease it back into this to the front bodice. I haven't done it yet. I'm still going to attempt her method because it seems so easy. And some of the other things. So I'm actually going to be doing a couple of variations of fixing things and seeing how that works out. So I'm recording that process so that I can share with you the changes that I made and how all that worked out. I do have, so I can share with you, some sort of wearable muslin fabric for that purpose. So this fabric here, I don't know if it's even going to show up on screen. It's just an off-white with very, very teeny weeny, ditsy small flowers on it. So they have green leaves and little red flowers. And they're really teeny weeny. And I've got like 3 yards or something of it. So it's, you know, it's nothing precious. But I thought that it would make good muslin fabric to test out variations of the fit for this pattern. And it would make a nice shirt if I get one to fit. So we will see how that works out. Another thing that's been going on is that I have been really enjoying the Gertie Patreon for Charmed Patterns. I don't know if you're familiar with Charmed Patterns, but Charmed Patterns by Gertie is a pattern company that focuses on retro and vintage style clothing, and they have a huge range of sizes. They're very inclusive in their sizes, and they also not only do a large range of sizes, but also bust cup sizes as well. And they launched a Patreon at the beginning of the year pretty much, and they've kind of changed up their Patreon going into lockdown, what they were planning to do. So they've done a lot of live YouTube videos, which I've really enjoyed. They're just kind of like chat sessions, but they've also, as part of the Patreon, and there are different tiers of the Patreon. I am at the $7 tier, which is just sort of the big entry level, I guess you could say. But for me, that's really all I wanted, because you get all the monthly freebies and everything. You just don't get like the extra discounts or gifts and stuff like that, because like I don't need more stuff. But the freebies have been excellent, and as part of the freebies, Charmed Patterns has released like the Loretta shorts, which I have already got printed and I need to get cut out. But speaking of freebies, so Charmed Patterns has recently released a completely free pattern for anyone. It's not part of their Patreon. There will be a Patreon extension for the free pattern, but it is the Harlow Pajamas. So these are a 1930s beach pajamas style pajama set. And I think it was a great idea for any pattern company to release a free pattern to kind of get a sense of how those patterns are drafted and what size range and the instructions. And the Charm Patterns are like small books. I mean, they've got so much in there, and part of it is because of all the sizes and all the details that go into it. But I will say that the Harlow Pajamas are very, very beginner friendly, and I will also say they're pajamas, but they're stylish pajamas. So if you have always wondered about like vintage style clothes and you're like not sure that that's for you, but you might want to dabble in it, I think the Harlow pajamas are like a great stepping stone. So just like play with vintage wear because, you know, they're pajamas and they're a loose fit, but they still have sort of that 1930s silhouette, which is also a slightly different silhouette than most charm patterns that are really more on that sort of 50s style. With that said, I am planning a pair of Harlow pajamas, and I went through my stash to figure out what I was going to make it in. And it is made for like a woven fabric, but Gertie recommends that it be a very drapey fabric. So in my fabric stash, I have this beautiful, it's almost like a linen, but, or maybe it's like a cotton lawn. I want to say it has that texture of linen, but it's very drapey, as you can see, and it's got this beautiful sort of pastel florals on it. And this, like I said, has been in my stash forever, and I want to make the top portion of the pajamas out of this. And then I have some bed sheets that were the wrong size. So I'm reusing the bed sheets as fabric. And these are those bed sheets. This is just a little scrap piece here. These are those bed sheets that are that microfiber. So they're really sort of silky soft. And I've got some in this sort of mint color, which I thought went so absolutely beautiful with this fabric here. I think they would be beautiful. So I had been digging around for that in my fabric stash because I knew I had this somewhere and I just had to find it. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I am in the midst of trying to reorganize my fabric stash. It is nowhere near where it needs to be, but what I am trying to do desperately is to organize it by links. So I have like a row of like 3 yards over here, 4 yards over there, 5 yards over here, so that I know what fabric is available for what project. And that's what takes me so long to find when I'm working on a project, is like the fabric. I mean, even like the shorts, like I had that one fabric designated for it, and then I realized, oh, I didn't have enough. So just kind of figuring that out has been taking a lot of time and effort. Also, during the summertime, since it's nice and warm, I spend a lot of my time outside in the garden. And I don't know if I've mentioned it here on the channel before, but I have been working on creating sort of this scenic garden in both my front yard and my backyard. So my backyard is supposed to look like a tiki garden, sort of like a backyard beach. So I've got elephant ears and cannas and all sorts of tropical looking plants. Most of them are just varieties of cannas. While cannas have a very tropical look, they are very hardy in Oklahoma. In fact, the largest canna farm is here in the state of Oklahoma. And I have, like I said, a ton of variety of those. I've got a little banana tree and a couple of patio palms. So I have been working tirelessly on the backyard garden and the front yard garden as well. And that is a tedious task because the summertime in Oklahoma is so dang hot. In order to actually work and enjoy the garden, you have to get up at 6 a.m. and you have to come in no later than 10 a.m. Around 9 a.m. is where it starts to get a little unbearable. And then you can't go back outside until maybe 7 o'clock because it's so hot and humid and just muggy. But I have been getting up early and working on my garden, so that has also taken up some of my energies these past few weeks, especially with everything that's been going on. I just haven't had the most amount of time to sew, though I have had some sewing projects that I managed to accomplish. I'm hoping, like I said, we're still in June as per when I'm recording this, to wrap up some of those last projects that I had planned for June and the fitting issues with this blouse, because I really, like I said in my last video, I don't want to make myself anything else until I figure out the fitting issues for this. And this is a relatively simple blouse, so if I can figure out fitting for this, I should have a better idea of how to make fitting adjustments moving forward. Fingers crossed. So that was just a little quick what's been happening in my corner of the world. I'd love to know in the comments below what you've been up to. What have you been sewing? Did you take part in the sewing weekend? Or what's going on in your little corner of the world? I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Akram's Ideas, and thanks for watching.
So if you are... That didn't make any sense. Let's start over. Now, if you've been watching... Let me do that again. In this episode, I'm sharing with you a... Let me do that again.